Hello everybody. Now we are going to start up with first chapter of science, class 9th, matter in our surroundings. But before starting the lesson, I would like to ask you all, what is chemistry? Chemistry is the study of matter, its properties, how and why substances combine or separate to form other substances. Chemistry also tells us about the elements in compounds and which are generally composed of atoms, molecules, and ions. Now let's come to the chapter. What is matter? Anything which occupies space and have mass and can be perceived by our senses is said to be matter. This you all know, you have studied in your previous classes also. Matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. Classification of matter. Early Indian philosophers have classified matter as Panch Tattva, which comprises of five things, namely air, earth, fire, sky, and water. But the modern scientists have evolved two types of classification of matter according to their physical properties and chemical properties. According to the physical properties, matter can either be a solid, liquid, or a gas. According to chemical properties, matter can be pure substances or a mixture. Pure substance may be an element or a compound, whereas mixtures can be homogeneous or heterogeneous in nature. Now, physical nature of matter. Physical nature means while you are seeing any form of matter, whether it is a solid, liquid, or a gas, what things you observe? Firstly, it has a particulate nature, means that any form of matter is always made up of small particles, and these particles may be in the form of atoms, molecules, or ions. Characteristics particles of matter. There are three characteristics of matter. The particles of matter have space between them. This you have studied earlier also in your lower classes, that particles of matter means the molecules have got some spaces. Now these spaces, instead of writing and telling them as interparticle spaces, you will be saying them as voids. Gases have maximum voids, whereas solids have minimum voids. Second characteristic is motion. The particles are continuously moving. Means all the particles, whether it is in solid, liquid, or a gas, they are always in motion, in movement due to diffusion. Now, what is diffusion? Diffusion is the spontaneous intermixing of particles on their own. Now, suppose if I lit an incense stick in the room, then its fragrance spreads in the whole room. Why? It is because the particles of the incense stick have got diffused into the air. Diffusion increases with increase in temperature, because as the temperature increases, the kinetic energy of the particles. What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by moving object is called kinetic energy. So as the temperature is going to increase, the kinetic energy of the particle will increase, which will result in increased rate of diffusion. Secondly, kinetic energy also increases when there is increase in pressure. Again, increase in pressure will also cause increase in the rate of diffusion. Diffusion decreases when there is increase in the density of the particles. As the density is going to increase, the rate of diffusion will slow down. The third characteristics of particle is the particles of matter attract each other. This also you have studied, that particles attract each other with a force that is known as force of attraction. Now, force of attraction is maximum in case of solids and it is minimum in case of gases. Now, I have incorporated two activities which are given in your book in this slide. First one is activity to prove that particles of matter have space between them. What you have to do for this activity, take some amount of water in a beaker and note its level. Then dissolve some amount of sugar or salt in it, maybe a spoon or a 2 spoon in this, and stir it with a glass rod. The salt is going to dissolve in water, but what will happen to the level of water? Will it increase? Will it decrease? What's going to happen? There will be no change in the volume of water, because why? The voids were there in case of water particles, and those voids, those spaces are filled up by the salt particles, which will result in no increase in the volume of water, and the volume will remain the same. Next activity, it is also from your book. This is activity 1.2. It is going to prove that particles of matter are very small. What has to be done for this activity? You have to take 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate. What is potassium permanganate? It is a dye of dark purple color. Then you will be dissolving that in 100 ml of water. Once it is dissolved, you are going to take out 10 ml from this and dissolve in another 100 ml of plain water. And you will keep this process repeating 5 to 6 times. At last, what you are going to observe, that water in the last beaker is slightly pink in color. Very light, but still the pink color is there. Why the pink color is there? Because you are continuously diluting the solution. But then also the pink color is there because the small crystals contain millions of tiny particles of potassium permanganate, and these crystals are imparting color to the water. Okay, now what has to be done? Go through activity number 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 and 1.6, which are given on page number 1, 2 and 3 in your NCERT science book. Once you have done up with the book, if you have any doubts, you can ask questions to clear up your doubts. Thank you.